You mentioned about education and all that. The concern that that resonates with us undergraduates would be the issue of bread and butter. How would Singapore actually deal with the issue of the proliferation of paper chase among Singaporeans? Because everybody, the rationale is every Singaporean is pragmatic. We want to get a degree at the end of the day. You encourage lifelong learning, but at the end of the day, we still want a degree because we feel that it is pragmatic for us to succeed in the future.
Well, it's a very very real problem and a very difficult question to answer. A verbal answer, I can give you an explanation, but an actual solution to the problem is not easy. Because in many societies, people want degrees passionately.
Yeah.
I talk about Korea, I talked about Taiwan. I think in many other countries in Europe it is like that. And people think that if I have that piece of paper, it will make all the difference to my life, to my job certainly, maybe to my standing in society. My parents will feel if I don't have it, something is not quite complete.
Yeah.
And if I don't have it, it may be harder to find a girlfriend or boyfriend. Yes. So there are many motivations for this, but then we also have to ask ourselves, is this the only thing in life? You want a good career? Yes. You need the skills for that job and for the jobs which you will be doing? Yes. But you also want to do other things in life, and they don't depend on having a piece of paper. And your standing in society doesn't depend on your having a piece of paper. Are you a good citizen? Do you care for others? Do you work with your neighbors? Do you help the community and participate in self-help groups? You don't need a degree to do that. A lot of people who have no degrees are very active and make a lot of contributions as citizens. So where you stand in our society cannot depend on whether you have a piece of paper or not. I'm not saying it's not important for you to have a good education. I think if you're an SIT, you're studying hard, you're taking your course seriously, I think it was good. And you are doing something which will stand you in good stead for a long time. But if you say, I absolutely must have a degree one way or the other, and even if it's just not very rigorous degree, but you paid for it and it's a private university or private school, and at the end of it, it may or may not help me to get my job, I still want it, then I think you have to weigh and see how much you want it and what else you might be able to do. And that's something which is very hard for us to say because each individual has to make the choice. But what we can do is to make sure that people have the choice and make the choice in an informed way. So that's the reason why, if you have been following the news, in the last few days, MOE have put up a new regulation that if you're operating a private school in Singapore, you must take part in the employment survey. And you must publish the results of the employment survey. Not all smeared together, all the schools and one average number, and everybody says, I'm better than that. But school by school, maybe even course by course, what did you study? Is it something in demand? Is it easy for people to get a job after that? And then they can decide. So that's part of the solution. It's not the whole story, but we hope that it will help.